Y fueron los sindicatos, ¿no? Live.
Hello everyone, my name's Todd and here we are outside the Houses of Parliament where we can see some courageous people here have de-locked themselves to the fence outside the Houses of Parliament. There's actually people up on scaffolding up the back and there's lots of banners here saying Citizens Assembly now, we are in crisis. And the banner up the top here on the scaffolding says let the people decide, Citizens Assembly now. So what exactly is a Citizens Assembly? Why are we here in preparation for our huge action that's coming up on September the 10th? We're here because ultimately the political system behind us, the politicians, are not able to serve the people. They're governed seemingly by the lobbies, and we can see clearly, this is without pointing to conspiracy theories, that essentially we've got lots of police coming in. 1 second, let's just try and speak to this gentleman before we get going. Hi, I'm here from Extinction Rebellion. How are you doing? Why have you decided to take this action today?
I'm doing all right. I'm doing this action because our political landscape is completely incompatible with what needs to happen. We are like at the end of a road, at the edge of a cliff, I suppose. If in all honesty, I'm completely stunned by the lack of political, but also just amongst the general public. If people think that we're going to get through this, they're going to have to realise very soon that it's going to take an awful lot for us to change the course that we're on.
If someone's at home watching this for the first time, they're not familiar with Extinction Rebellion, they're considering coming down on the 10th of September, what's like the most stark thing you could say to them to encourage them to empower themselves to take action, and what's your experience of that?
Yeah, well, I've taken action with Extinction Rebellion a number of times, and it does feel, because of course we all feel like small cogs in a big machine, right? And I think that there are actually doing something feels like it's hard to know that you'll make a difference, but you have to try, right? You have to try. And I know, for the sake of all of what we have today, all of our loved ones and so forth, that I will do what I have to do.
Right, and is it fair to say that ultimately Extinction Rebellion, we might be called climate activists or whatever label, but ultimately we're just ordinary people. I'm a former airline pilot, and we're not saying we have the answers, right? The Citizens Assembly is a fully democratic process. There's been historic use of it, and it's really successful. It uses a collective intelligence of a group, like a jury service, and we could absolutely incorporate that into our political system, upgrade our democracy, and it would stop the politicians from ultimately having to follow the party line and not their conscience, because 8 in 10 people want action on the climate crisis, right?
Absolutely. I mean, that's exactly why we're here at Parliament, because our political system is not fit for service. It's like we call ourselves a democracy. We the current government won its huge majority with 40% of the vote. A Citizens Assembly is a much more democratic form of democracy. It might not be everything, but it's certainly like a step in the right direction. I want to see a Citizens Assembly, absolutely, because I believe that the people, faced with the truth of what we are facing, will come to better conclusions than politicians who are, at the end of the day, in hock to corporate lobbying and all the rest of it.
Yeah, we've seen 40 billion, I think, going towards unconditional fossil fuel energy companies this year alone, I believe. That's taxpayers' money, right? And this cost of living scandal, people got to decide this winter between heating and eating, and the government are clearly not serving the people. They're under threat in many ways right now, not just a climate and ecological crisis, but literally putting food on the table.
No, absolutely. It becomes scary, doesn't it, when our basic needs are not going to be fulfilled, right? Heating and eating. And we are, I mean, that is basically what the climate crisis will eventually, it will reach us all, because if we look at pictures of what's happening in Pakistan right now, then you realise that the climate, the environment that we live in is what we depend on. It cannot, the planet and what we live with cannot exist without the stability that we've evolved within our societies.
Well, thank you so much for having the courage to take this action today on behalf of all the people that are, being subject to, the policies of this failing political system. But thank you. Hi, and again, could you just, tell the people watching today why? Could you just tell the people watching today why you've decided to take this action?
If somebody can tell me of another alternative, I will jump at it, as long as it has the effect of waking this government up, getting them off the backsides and doing something. At the moment, we've tried everything. We've tried the petitions, the lobbying, marching, and it's achieved nothing. So now we've got to be in the face.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So, very sorry, but we do need to cut to something else now. But viewers, if you're watching, just bear with us. We're just going to cut to another image and see what's going on elsewhere.
Looting companies get rich. We are in crisis, and what goes on in this room every single day makes a joke out of all of us. We cannot afford to go on like this. We need a new way of making decisions, where more voices are heard, not just those at the top. We need the true diversity of this country to be represented. We need a citizens' assembly.
Take cameras away, please. Take back the common. Take back the common. Take back the common. Take back the common. All in common, common soul. Take back the common. Take back the common. Take back the common. Take back the common. No locks up the man or woman who seals the goods from off the common and leaves the graves of villain news. Who seals the common from the news. 3, 4. Take back the common. Take back the common. Take back the common. Take back the
Well, there we can see, these activists or just ordinary people that really care about the future of our country and the people in it, have gone and, got inside the chamber of the House of Commons. A really historic day. If you're just joining us, we're just here with a gentleman outside who's de-locked on. We were speaking to him before, so we're just going to carry on. Again, if you could just tell us some of the most pertinent points about why you're here and what you could say to someone if they're watching this for the first time about why you're taking action today.
If you watch this the first time seeing us doing this, let me just say apologies if anybody's said to you you're in denial. I don't think a lot of people are in denial. They know what's going on. It's just that what the situation is too much to take. I find it overpowering myself. I get emotional. When I think about what's going to happen, and the people that supposedly the adults in the room are doing nothing. It's us children. Let's call us. We're the children in the room. Like what's her name? I'm an old guy.
Greta?
Greta. Like Greta says, yeah, we've got to be the kids in the room because the adults are doing sod all. So I ask the people who come into this for the first time, recognise the fact that yes, yeah, I understand why you're standing back, but while you're standing back, things are getting worse, and it's exponential. Let me explain exponential. That means the more it carries on, the faster it gets, and the disaster, the catastrophe. The thousands of people who are already dying, it's going to become millions. That's coming nearer and nearer and nearer. And what we've got to try and do now is get something from the government. From the governments, this is not just our government, it's governments around the world, to save humanity. That means the whole bloody world, because we're all going to die if nobody does anything. So what do you want to do? Do you want to do nothing and your kids and your grandchildren have no future? Or do you want to stand up? Because that's all you have to do, stand up, show the numbers of people who will not accept this inaction that's going on at the moment. That's the thing.
Thank you so much firstly for your authenticity, because I think emotions are seriously lacking from what we see on the mainstream media and in the news. You know, I'm terrified. We're terrified, right? Yeah. And we don't have the answers. You know, no one person could seriously solve the most complex problem that's ever confronted humanity, you could say, right? Exactly. Everything relies on our biosphere. So this whole idea why you're here today is about empowering ordinary people to come together, listen to experts that do really understand this stuff, and collectively make a decision, right? Collective intelligence, and that seems like a logical thing to do. Why would politicians not want that?
It's a no-brainer. You know, this is the thing. Why are they holding back? Is it because they're afraid of being involved in the solution? Because it's so. It's not going to be easy. It's going to take strength, courage, determination, and at the moment, all we're seeing is cowardice. You know, that's the problem we've got.
I completely agree. Yeah, it does take courage, and you're a fine example of that courage here today. So thank you for doing what you're doing. We're going to try and speak to some more other people now, but thanks again. We'll speak to you in a bit if we can.
Well done.
Okay. Well, as we can see there, if you are just joining us, we're here outside the House of Parliament. We've got a couple of people de-locked on outside, and a banner, I believe, which has the text on, which may have just been read out inside the House of Commons there. I think there were people chanting and glued on to the Speaker's chair. So a very historic day indeed. It looks like there's a gentleman glued on here as well. Do you mind if we have a quick word? If like, you know, you could say anything to the people watching this live stream right now about why you've decided to, by the looks of it, glue your hand onto, you know, in the gateway here to the House of Parliament. What is it that you'd say?
Well, obviously Extinction. Liz Truss wants to open new fracking. Of all things, new fracking. There's a new coal mine being opened in Cumbria, as you know. Jackdaw in the North Sea, new gas. I mean, we've just come out of the worst heat wave in history. So Liz Truss and they're actually tweeting stuff about climate denial. Yeah. And they're ignoring us.
Yeah, and I believe recent polling shows that 52% of the UK population believe that 2050 net zero is far too late. That's 35 million people in the UK. 8 out of 10 take the climate crisis seriously. So the will of the people is being ignored. What can we do?
Well, non-violent direct action, and 2050 is way too late. By 2030, people are going to be screaming. I reckon 2025 is a cut-off. People say 2027 or 2030, but the climate change scientists who I rely on, I'm not a climate change scientist, but the climate change scientists who I depend on for evidence say it's coming soon. They said 2030 when we started. What was it? 2018 we started. We had a sign saying 12 years, then 11 years, then 10 years to go.
Yeah.
People ignored us.
Yeah.
Since XR started, we've got a big response, as you know. But we have to act. I mean, we can't open new fracking. I mean, that is madness. And jackdaw, and the coal mining company. We have 46 active coal mines in Britain today. Today, 46. People think there are no coal mines in Britain. It's not true.
Yeah, I completely agree. The UK government's just been found to be acting unlawfully by the High Court because of the Climate Change Act, the lack of information, they're differing and avoiding action. But I guess we're always confronted with all this fear in the mainstream media, and ultimately what it is we want to do here is empower people. We're going to be meeting on September the 10th in Marble Arch. We've got 3 days worth of a festival of resistance, and what did the step look like for you from going from what I assume to be an ordinary citizen of some sort to sitting here today glued on?
Unfortunately not. I was in 1968, I was on the anti-Vietnam War protests.
Okay.
And I devoted my life to working for charities. I worked for a charity in India with refugees, so unfortunately not. I'm not atypical.
Well, okay. Well, thank you for your long committed service. I don't know how you've done it because I'm quite new to this, and it's just terrifying what I've learned. But I do feel empowered, and this community of people that just care really. It's really inspiring, and I want to say a huge thank you for taking the action today. We're going to try and speak to some more people, but best of luck as you move forward. Thank you. Cheers.
While polluting companies get rich. Population teaches power.
We are in crisis. Heat waves, floods, poverty and a cost of living scandal while polluting companies get rich. We are in crisis, and what goes on in this chamber every day makes a joke out of us all. We cannot afford to go on like this. It is possible to act on climate and costs in a way that is fair and supports everyone, but our political system is too out of date and too out of touch to see beyond the next election cycle and do what needs to be done. We need a new way of making decisions where more voices are heard, not just those at the top. We need the true diversity of the country to be represented. We need a citizens' assembly now. Citizens' assemblies empower ordinary people to make decisions that benefit everyone. Decisions that can get us out of this mess and make life better, safer and fairer for all of us. We're told time and time again that it's not possible to change things, that this is just our lot and we have to get on with it. Well, enough is enough. An obedient population teaches power what it can get away with. We refuse to let the future be decided by politicians who only care about themselves. People power can change the course of history. It's going to take a mass movement of people to upgrade politics and win a citizens' assembly. That's where we're asking for your help on 10th of September, 10 a.m. in Hyde Park. It's time to let the people decide.
We are told time and time again that it is not possible to change things. That this is our lot and we'll just have to get on with it. Well, enough's enough. An obedient population teaches power as it can get away with it. We refuse to let it.
It's about the election.
Well, hello again, everyone. If this is the first time you've ever watched an Extinction Rebellion live stream, then please do stay with us. We're outside the House of Parliament today on what is no doubt a historic day. People have locked themselves. They're next to the gates behind us. We've got people holding banners up on the scaffolding inside there. People have got inside the House of Commons, and if you've not seen it already, they've been chanting and got all around the Speaker's chair. So I'm just going to have a quick chat with this woman outside, and could you tell me what it is that inspired you to come down here today, and what you might say to someone that could be watching this for the first time?
Sure. Today I've been inside holding a banner demanding the citizens' assemblies. Extinction Rebellion believe in the power of ordinary people when provided with the right information and given time to make far better decisions than politicians who have vested interests and short-term political ambitions in their heart of heart. We are a determined, desperate group of ordinary citizens who are not going to stand by and let our planet be trashed, our children's future be trashed, and to witness the massacre and genocide of people of the global south who have done least tribute to global warming to now bear the brunt. Pakistan is a third underwater. It's barely being talked about here. These people had nothing, now they have less than nothing, okay? Millions have been displaced. Where are they supposed to go, okay? The fight for climate justice is for social justice. It's all linked. And back in the UK, people, if you think, my fuel bills, I'm worried about those. I don't have time to resist. I'll leave it to someone else. No, we need everybody. Everybody's contribution is welcome. We welcome the elderly, the disabled, people from all ethnicities, all genders. However people define themselves, you have a role in the resistance. I'd like to finish by inviting you all to come to the Carnival Resistance in Hyde Park between the 10th and 12th of September. This is going to be a very safe space. Please bring your family, please bring your friends. It will be vibrant, it will be beautiful, and there'll be opportunities to find out a bit more about Extinction Rebellion and a whole other group of sister movements like Animal Rebellion and Unity, and get trained, hang out with us, and get the chance to participate in a people's assemblies. That's all I want to say. I believe in people power, let the people decide.
Thank you very much, and very well articulated. Can I ask you some more questions? Or so I guess as someone that the vast majority of the UK public now are suffering from the cost of living scandal, which is a political decision, right? But it's really hard to connect these dots to see how action like this, getting out on the streets, could actually empower them to have perhaps like an economic system that serves them. They might end up. I've read a study that says we could work 10 hours in a week, and that would still provide enough for the economy, that it would really help the ecological crisis. And of course, who wouldn't want to work less and have an economy that serves, the well-being and the health of the people. Among that, we've also got I think 50% of the crops were recently, up to 50% of the crops could have failed due to the heat wave in the UK. We saw 40 degrees. It's terrifying, and it is right here. I know it's difficult for people to connect to what's happening around the world, which has been happening for many decades, but it is here now. So with that in mind, what is it that's unique about the citizens' assembly process, and how do you see it working? Obviously, it's nothing to do with Extinction Rebellion. It is independent, but could you just say a bit more on that?
I mean, in my opinion, it's far more democratic. First of all, how many people are really enjoying their life under grinding capitalism? Okay, most young people haven't got a hope. Even if they manage to move out from their parents, they're paying a horrible amount of money for terrible accommodation, and their future is bleak. Let's just think about the fossil fuels. We need to stop burning fossil fuels now, and we need to put all our energy and resources into moving towards a green economy. This time, not dumping those workers like Thatcher did the coal miners. Okay, we need a just transition. Okay, also, yeah, I totally get with you. We need to rethink society and how we're living. Okay, people, I believe, actually could be happier. We had a little taste of this at the beginning of COVID when people slowed down a bit, you know. And we realise we don't need all this stuff that we're endlessly producing and consumers. We're more than consumers. We basically, citizens' assemblies, have faith in the individual intelligence and common sense of ordinary people.
Yeah.
This is the heart of it, and this is the radical demand. Yeah, we think they can make better decisions than these people who were born with a silver spoon in their mouth. Most of them went to private education. They haven't got a clue how ordinary people are living and suffering.
Yeah.
That's why citizens' assemblies are very radical.
Thank you. And I guess, like, if I was born in Boris Johnson's privilege, or whoever, you know, is sort of serving the corporations right now, I may well make the same decisions. It's not necessary. It's just they're a product, perhaps, of their environment, and they are out of touch, aren't they? So, if I may use an example of, I used to be an airline pilot, and in the aviation industry, you spoke about this sort of short-term thinking of politicians and board members of corporations. What we're seeing in the airline industry is they're trying to triple their emissions essentially by 2050, greenwash their way out of it. And the public, as well as the employees, they haven't got a clue because it's so well hidden behind these, you know, these corporate lies. So we're thinking of like this worker assembly process, which is more towards like a people's assembly, but it gives aviation workers an opportunity to come together, hear from experts in a long form of information, and just, you know, hear from people that know, that are experts, and then they can make a collective informed decision about how their industry, an industry that they know very well, can move forward and their jobs be protected, and, you know, as you mentioned, a just transition, what that looks like.
The thing is, for me, I mean, Extinction Rebellion hit the streets 4 years ago, was it now, sounding the alarm. Everybody's heard it now. We're not so much into disrupting ordinary people, which was a necessary part, if unpopular, okay? But it is not for us to make decisions. Extinction Rebellion haven't got a manifesto of how things should be and how things should be run. We're handing that to the people with a legal mandate. Once they make those uncomfortable decisions about, you know, these are the implications if you keep driving your car. You know, even if it's electric, where do you think those minerals are coming from?
Yeah.
They're coming from the global south, from the Democratic Republic of Congo. It's the same extraction thing going on. Maybe we can envisage a world with less cars, free public transport, you know, shared car ownership, you know, more pedestrianised streets. Let's play with it. What kind of world do you actually want for your kids? Yeah. It doesn't necessarily mean, I don't think, oh, we're going to have a worse life. I think it could be a better life,
yeah, and
certainly a more sustainable life. And the fact of the matter is, we have to change because change has come.
Yeah, it's coming whether we like it or not, as Greta said. And you know, I guess if you are at home and this is perhaps the first time you've tuned in, perhaps you could just put in the comments what your vision for the future may be. And, you know, we'd love to hear from you. We really want to empower people and have these voices heard. So just going to have a little chat to our friend here as well. Can you tell us what happened inside? We saw you coming out with a great energy and singing and dancing. So what inspired you to take action, and what happened?
Yeah, well, we went into Parliament today to make very clear that the system as it is right now is destroying everything. It's destroying our livable planet and everything on it. So we know that we need to upgrade our democratic system. So we went in, different people did different things. I think some people glued on to stuff. We definitely had some people holding banners. I was with a group of people just singing mainly, because it is very necessary to convey the important message in a respectable and acceptable tone, and to make people relate to what we're saying. We're not, you know, they like to put us off as if we were criminals or dangerous or terrorists even, and we're clearly not. We need to improve our democratic system, and that's all we're asking basically. So we went and we sang 2 different songs. There were people putting Extinction Rebellion stickers everywhere. We heard some speeches in the distance, and then we were walked out by the police. It was quite funny because they had, before they walked us out, moved all the regular visitors, tourists and so forth, into a hall that we then had to come through, and we came from like a higher staircase, so it felt like we came out of these massive doors onto this stage while we were already singing, which is really jolly. And so we took our moment while the police were like, come on, and sang our song, brought our message across with a bit of humor and a bit of and then we just came out and saw what's unfolding out here, which is amazing.
Thank you for all your energy that you bring to this, because it is really important, isn't it? You know, we need to still have fun, and this maybe some might say love in action, right?
Absolutely.
I can relate to your experience. I was in the chamber. I was in the lobby there with 4 women during the Kill the Bill protests when we was trying to stop this police crime sentencing and courts bill, and the irony of like seeing the suffragettes. Memorial above us, and then and coming through that sort of grand foyer, and the echo of it. It's quite something in there, isn't it? A very strange place, really. Everyone walking around in top hats and that sort of Etonian vibe. But yeah, do you have anything more you'd like to say to people at home, perhaps why they should consider perhaps coming to September the 10th in Hyde Park?
Absolutely, we've got. This is our opening act, so to speak, to really draw attention to our most important demand within Extinction Rebellion, that we need to upgrade our democracy, and really bring in citizens' assemblies to make these important decisions to go forward in this climate and ecological emergency and beyond, with the fuel crisis just as much. And as you just talked about, the bills getting more and more repressive, and people not able to speak their voices anymore. So yeah, everyone that's watching, if you can, please come down, join in whichever way you can. If you bound at home, donate to the cause. We always need support of all sorts, but if you can, Marble Arch, 10th of September, 10 a.m. or 11 a.m. or something.
Yeah.
Come down and join the Festival of Resistance, which is going to be great.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much, and appreciate it.
We'll be singing there.
Great. Well, I'm sure many people want to join.
Thank you.
Oh, we've got someone else just speaking here, so let's see if we can listen in.
Come and join us on the 10th of September to learn how to change our system. The climate and ecological emergency is hurtling towards us. There are 33 million people homeless in Pakistan now. There are 2 million people in Somalia with no food security. They are going to die because of drought, severe drought. It's coming to us. We've had wildfires this summer. The floods will come. The climate emergency is here right now. But we can decide together. Come to Hyde Park on the 10th of September, next Saturday, to learn how you can resist this rotten and shoddy government.
Well, very passionate speech there, quite rightly so. In case you haven't seen already, we do have people up on the scaffolding behind us there. I'm sure you're getting visuals of that. But I think one of the things that's important to remember is change is now. We're only going to be able to get a society, an economy, a political system that serves the people if we do take that step into and sort of, and the first step I'd say, and it is a big step, I do get it, I spent a long time looking at Extinction Rebellion from the outside, when I was still considering going back to the airline industry, and, to actually come out and meet people that, we've been sort of tarnished in the media is a big step. So, acknowledge that, it's worth acknowledging that, but if you can, find that courage within you. We do deserve a better system, and it is entirely possible. Too many people have been suffering for far too long, people and animals included, and we can reconnect to ourselves, reconnect to the land, nature. It's a healing process, and we've become so disconnected. So let's see if we can speak to anyone else here. Hello, how are you? And could you tell me what you've been up to today? We're XR Livestream, XR UK.
Hello.
So yeah, how are you doing?
I am. That was quite nerve-wracking. So I'm still a little bit. Oh my gosh! But I feel that for the future that we're facing, it's really worth stepping out of our comfort zone and making our voices heard. I'm not terribly young, but I'm comparatively young, and I really do think that within my lifetime, I'm probably going to see, if not, absolutely definitely more catastrophes in the global south. I also think there's concerns that there's going to be catastrophes here as well. I'm not sure if I'm going to live to old age. You know, this is something that is a threat to the entire world, including privileged people in the UK. We've seen like massive flooding in the north. We've seen the heat waves this year with loads of excess deaths from heat stroke and goodness knows what else. So it's terrifying, and that's just nothing compared to the really unspeakable, horrible things that are happening in other countries, like the floods in Pakistan. This is all caused by the choices of a capitalist elite who are killing us with fossil fuels. They're killing us because making a profit is more important than losing a little bit of money to save the world. I mean, I don't know what they expect. Maybe they think they're all going to go to Mars or something. I don't know. But yeah, I think it's really important that everybody can come down to Hyde Park at 10 a.m. on the 10th of September and join us to demand a citizens' assembly. I think it's time to let real people decide, to let just ordinary people who are not from Eton or goodness knows where else make some decisions about how they want to be governed and the world they want their children to inherit.
Yeah, thank you. Really appreciate it. And it's not to say there's inherently anything wrong with anyone that's studied at Eton, of course, but what is clear is that the people of this country are not being represented fairly. You know, the political system, the political institution we can see behind us, you know, they've been found to act unlawfully by the High Court recently because they're not providing enough information about their own climate change policy. You know, they're just not talking about it, and it's like they're in denial, and it's really hard, you know, when so many of the UK public understand this. 8 out of 10 believe this is a serious issue, the climate crisis, but that voice just isn't filtering through into the mainstream media. So, you know, what is it about the citizens' assembly process that gives you hope, and you know, why is it that you believe in that as an alternative?
So I'm lucky enough to have been able to go to uni, but I don't understand British politics.
Likewise, yeah, very much so.
And it all feels really alienating to me, and it does feel a lot like people who don't understand my life and don't know what it's like for me and my mates are making decisions for us. And although we've got the chance to vote, and I do think that being able to vote is really important, I don't really understand how that translates to getting our voices heard, because all it is like a tick in a box every 4 years. I think that from what I understand about a citizens' assembly, it's an opportunity for like a representative selection of everyday people who aren't professional politicians to come together and to learn a little bit about the issues and to make their voices heard and to make a decision that hopefully represents everybody a bit better than what politicians might be able to do.
Great, thank you. That's not too much to ask, is it, really, of a political system that actually serves the people and you know, the people's desires are, you know, they're governed by the interests of the people and not the corporations. And well, thank you very much for your time. It's been a pleasure speaking to you, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Scandal while polluting companies get rich. We are in crisis, and what goes on in this room every single day makes a joke out of all of us. We cannot afford to go on like this. We need a new way of making decisions, where more voices are heard, not just those at the top. We need the true diversity of this country to be represented. We need a citizens' assembly.
Put cameras away, please.
And hello again. If you have just joined us on this live stream today, we're outside the Houses of Parliament. You can see someone in the background up on the scaffolding. We've got people outside here with banners demanding a citizens' assembly, and even people in the House of Commons, in the chamber itself, as you just saw, and D-lots down here. So a very historic day, you could say. And I'm here with this gentleman. Could you explain what it is, why it is that you decided to come out today, and what you could say to people at home that perhaps are not familiar with Extinction Rebellion, might have heard some horrible things about us, or you know, how can we inspire people to be empowered to take action?
So a lot of my inspiration for taking action actually comes from all the time I spent with the Scouts, which I did as a young person and I still volunteer now. Scouts is all about nature, outdoor spaces and young people. And that's what's most at risk in the climate emergency. The future outdoor spaces, I love that. I love young people, and so that's why I'm here. I fully agree that our political system is stuck. It's not going to deal with a crisis this big. We've seen that recently with other crises. We need a different way of making decisions, and citizens' assemblies sounds like a brilliant way to do it. Let's get a representative group of people. Let's get them together, spend a bit of time learning about the system, just like a jury does, learning about the problem, come up with a decision, and then it can be government's job to implement the decision of the people. I think the days of representative democracy, of electing someone and then sending them off because Parliament's hundreds of miles away, work for a bit. I don't think it's what we need now in the digital age. We can do way, way better democracy.
Yeah, I completely agree. Like one vote, every 4 or 5 years, and most of the time the mandate they're elected on doesn't seem to materialise. There's a whole string of excuses and manipulation. You know, they're essentially they're rich mates. You know, we saw with the contracts of PPE and whatnot. You know, 40 billion I think went to the energy companies for unconditional fossil fuel. That's taxpayer money, right? Going straight to these companies that are making record-breaking profits right now. I think that themselves are making like 40 odd billion US dollars in profit in this cost of living scandal, right?
I feel like there's two ways that we can deal with the energy crisis. Obviously it's more than two, but to generalise, we can either find the money to pay the cartel, or we can find the money to reduce our need on it. And I think we should 100% let's find the money, because we are in a crisis and we absolutely need to act on it. But let's find the money to address the problem, not just to pay off the oil barons, because otherwise we'll be here again next year and the year after. Let's just reduce our energy needs, and everything will be cheaper, and everything will be more sustainable and happier and healthier.
And you know, you mentioned earlier, you know, that experience. I was in the Air Cadets as a young teenager, and I think we always need to respect that connection that we had. Maybe a more so. I'm 33. You know, at my age, you know, phones weren't really about so much, but we spend a lot of time in nature, and it does feel like we're just becoming more and more disconnected. And with that disconnection, it enables us to psychologically not really connect to us really needing nature or being a part of that. And yeah, I guess what's your experience? Could you say anything more about, you know, how you see this sort of serving the biodiversity collapse as well, which isn't often given so much airtime?
Yeah, it's fascinating what you're saying.
Rebellion!
No, you're exactly right, and I do it myself. Nature is a place that I go to. I go to the park. I go on camp. It's not something that I engage with on a daily basis. You know, that's how we treat things like the cinema. We go to the cinema. We go to the shop. Nature is everything, and we lose track of it because we've got roads and stones and everything around us. And I've got nothing against infrastructure, but it needs to be integrated with nature, because apart from anything else, it's not healthy to not. It's nicer when it's integrated with nature, and it's more sustainable when we're living with nature rather than just fighting against it. And I think trees, insurance companies and subsidence is the best example of how our current infrastructure is just not working. We can't just keep underpinning things or or cutting trees down because we built a building too close to it. We need to consider the world when we're building it.
Thank you. That reminds me of when I was a hypocrite in the airline industry, and I went to Thailand and I saw like the Buddha's head just sort of grown into around the roots of this tree, and there was just like there's still feeling of symbiosis that perhaps other cultures or historically, yeah, we might have had that connection and that relationship too. But yeah, thanks very much for.
You weren't a hypocrite. We're just all on a journey.
Exactly right, and that is the truth. So you know, we're all where we're at, but we can make the decision to change now, right? It's possible. So thank you. Thanks for coming out today.
Thank you very much.
So yeah, there we go. Just going to go down and read this this sign here. I'm not sure if it's been read out in its entirety already, but we are in crisis. Heat waves, floods, poverty, and a cost of living scandal while polluting companies get rich. We're in a crisis, and what goes on in Parliament every day makes a joke of us all. We cannot afford to go on like this. It is possible to act on the climate and costs in a way that is fair and supports everyone. But our political system is too out of date and out of touch to see beyond the next election cycle and do what needs to be done. We need a new way of making decisions where more voices are heard, not just those at the top. We need the true diversity of the country to be represented. We need a citizens' assembly now. Citizens' assemblies empower ordinary people to make decisions that benefit everyone, decisions that can get us out of this mess and make life better, safer, fairer for all of us. We're told time and time again that it's not possible to change things that this is a lot and just have to get on with it. Well, enough is enough. An obedient population teaches power what it can get away with. We refuse to let the future be decided by politicians who only care about themselves. People power can change the course of history. It's going to take a mass movement of people to upgrade politics and win a citizens' assembly. That's why we're asking for your help. 10th of September, 10 a.m. in Hyde Park. We're going to be there until the 12th of September. And yeah, you know, the plan is, this is phase one of our plan. You can see in our sort of activist terms, if you like, this would what be called quite a spicy action. You know, it's inside the Houses of Parliament. There's some pretty serious criminal records that people might be looking at today, the people that have taken action inside. So, you know, I'm no doubt this decision hasn't been taken lightly. The people, of course, don't want to be in there getting arrested. And, you know, ultimately it is this government that's just been found that politicians inside this political system that's been found to be acting unlawfully by the High Court. So we've got to ask ourselves, who are the real criminals? And, you know, if we come to the conclusion, if you like me, believe that, you know, another world is possible, we could have an economy that serves the people, health and well-being can be respected. We could have a 10-hour working week. I've read a scientific paper that says that's quite possible. 10-hour working week, imagine that. You know, all that time you can spend with your family, looking after yourself, meditating, going out into nature, whatever it is that keeps you in tip-top shape, you know, an actual system that works for the people. We can have all of those things, but ultimately no one of us has the answer. It's such a complex issue, and the real benefit of what we're proposing here, and it's not our idea, it's a process which has happened in Northern Ireland with the abortion debate recently in Scotland. You know, you get an opportunity to come together with ordinary people and decide even on the question. You know, collectively you can decide what the question should be, and then you get experts coming in and giving you all the information that you need. I can hear someone talking behind me, so I'm going to try and get you the audio. 1 second.
We won't survive this unless we make drastic change now. Hello.
Hello. I just missed that. Could you perhaps just...
I can try. It was a bit ad hoc.
Well, thank you. Speak in front of all these strangers. It's terrifying, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, but it's what needs to happen. Much scarier than talking in front of all of these people who I don't know, and these people from camera crews, is the future that we face if we don't do something drastic right now about the climate and ecological emergency. And the reason that I'm here today is that we are demanding that the government implement citizens' assemblies so that ordinary people who are educated on all of the details can make decisions about how we deal with this, because we do not believe that politicians will ever make those decisions, because every single time they have to worry about getting re-elected and they don't want to make decisions that are unpopular. Well, I'm sorry, if we want to get out of this crisis and save our species and millions of other species, then someone's going to have to make some bloody difficult decisions that are going to be a lot harder than me standing in Parliament Square with a banner and talking on a live stream.
Thank you. Thank you for that authentic way in which you've articulated that. I guess one of the things that really sticks out for me is this short-termism, the way in which a political system currently with this one vote from the people of who gets in every 4 or 5 years, and then it always ends up being about that one moment. But clearly, the people need a say in the process, as life unfolds, because it's complex, and we just have 40 degrees in there. That's unprecedented. It's terrifying. We're looking at potentially 50% of crop failure due to water shortages and this severe drought we've been in. So, how would you envisage the Citizens' Assembly getting beyond that sort of short-term thinking and really empowering the people in that sense?
Well, the whole point of a Citizens' Assembly is that people spend weeks or months being educated by top scientists and academics on certain subjects, and if we implemented a legally binding Citizens' Assembly that in which a large group of people were decided by sortition, so the process that we use to decide jury service, meaning we'd have a representative cross-section of the population. Those people were then educated about what the situation is. Then I believe that they would make the decisions, those difficult long-term decisions that we need to make. And the reason I believe that is that when we had our advisory Citizens' Assembly last year, those decisions were made. What came out of that was radical, drastic change. And the government listened to that and said, no thanks. And they've done nothing. One of the things that I think is so ironic is I was in there today listening to the audio tour, and you stand in the House of Commons and listen to a debate between Jeremy Corbyn and Boris Johnson about the climate crisis. And Boris Johnson stands there and proclaims that we are the best country in the world. I'm sorry, but that is categorically a lie. And even if we were, no country is doing enough. The change that we need is so drastic that we can't even imagine it right now. But the people who do imagine it are the experts, and if those experts educate the population, then the population will to make those decisions.
Thank you. And I guess, when we've got this short-term thinking, and politicians are now really just trained for these sound bites. They're called sound bites. These short, sort of 20-second clips that you might see on BBC News, and that is somehow supposed to change the opinion and sum up this really complex process.
Incredibly complex.
Yeah. One thing I might just say with regard to just my understanding of the process is that it doesn't necessarily need to be legally binding, because I think that happened in France, and it was actually an opportunity for them they can still get round it, But that's why it's even more important for people to come out on the streets and really support the Citizens' Assembly process, because if the people get behind it, then the government have to act if they're serving the people.
If there is a critical mass of people supporting the decisions of the Citizens' Assembly and the government still goes against that, then there is no way that they can claim to be democratically representing us. They really can't.
Right. Okay. Well, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, if you are just joining us, as you can see, we're outside the House of Parliament. What really is, I think it's fair to say, a historic day in this extremely uncomfortable time that we find ourselves in. A cost of living scandal, this political decision to prioritise the interests of the oil companies over ordinary people who are literally going to have to make the decision between heating and eating this winter. We're called Extinction Rebellion. Some people might call me a climate activist. I used to be an airline pilot, but really we're just ordinary people, and we're just out here saying we don't have the answers. This isn't about us, but we do believe in this process, which has been seen to be successful in various different cases. And if the people really get behind this and support this Citizens' Assembly process, then we really could have a future which is unimaginable right now, as the lady said there. I'm lost for words really about where we find ourselves right now. It's really hard to articulate. We see the mainstream media really lacking in emotion all of the time. And why can't we just say, look, we can't solve this alone. We need the help of everyone. This is extremely complex, and just be a bit humble about it. Of course, no one can solve this. It's ridiculous. But we can come together and really understand these issues in the long form, not the sound bites that you catch on the mainstream media, and try and get a handle on this situation. It is entirely possible. We're going to have another chat to our friend here. So, hi, how are you doing? What's been going on for you today?
Great, yeah. I was inside helping to put that banner up there. It says, "Let the people decide. Citizens' assemblies now."
Wow, and how was that experience for you?
Yeah, quite stressful actually. So anything outside of a conventional visit counts as trespass because it's a designated site.
Yeah, it's scary, isn't it? Right? You know, I'm sure you don't want to be doing this. Am I right in saying you're a scientist?
I am a scientist. Yeah. No, I mean it's obviously a really important building, Parliament. Like it's the way that decisions are made in our country is an extraordinarily important thing, and this is a very special place, of course. I mean, the problem is that the people in here, the decisions they're making are terrifying, like really very, very dangerous. And there are so many people in this country that are really suffering, and the government right now is paying more attention to like their mates in the oil and gas industry than to people that are actually struggling, like really don't know how to, really worrying about how to pay their bills and keep their, feed their families.
Yeah, it all seems to be happening at once, doesn't it? But they're all linked.
Yes,
and,
exactly.
And perhaps that is the beauty of something like a citizens' assembly, where people can be paid, to have time out like a jury service and to really understand these issues. Because if we're only going to read the papers and, the 70% of the tabloid media in this country is owned by four non-tax-paying foreign billionaires, then how can we expect that information to be one that we should trust?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. So yeah, I mean, as a scientist, I always thought that the role of a scientist was to just present the information more clearly. Clearly, if decision makers aren't responding to climate and ecological issues the way that it seems so obvious, saving the basis of our society. Like if they're not responding to save, people's respond to keep people. If they're not, responding to keep people safe in basic ways, then surely scientists need to present their information more clearly so that decision makers will understand. And I think I've increasingly come to realise that they already have the information. The science has been really clear on this for decades, and decision makers are just instead listening to influential groups ultimately that are profiting from destruction of nature and pollution of the atmosphere. So that's why it's a political choice, right? Giving billions of pounds. The government gives billions of pounds every year to oil companies, right? And it has done almost nothing to help families that are struggling with bills, right? That's a political choice. That's not inevitable. That was a decision, and that's why the process of decision making is so important.
Thank you. And as a recent example, there was a guy outside here not so long ago, Angus, who went on hunger strike.
Yeah.
I think he got into like at least 30-something days. That's territory where you could lose your life.
Really? No, really. He was clear about that. He was like, I will do this till the bitter end.
Right.
He was particularly calling on this minister, Greg Hands, who didn't respond, just was prepared to let him die, basically. It was the Green MP, Caroline Lucas, that stepped in to save the situation.
Yeah, and the only thing, am I right in saying that he was requesting is that the MPs inside this building behind us, they just had the same briefing that Boris Johnson got by our chief scientist that Boris Johnson received before the COP climate conference, and just make sure that all the MPs in there actually understand what's really happening and how serious this is, and hardly any of them showed up.
No, I mean, it's absolutely, I couldn't believe it when I heard it, that MPs had never had a briefing on an issue as important as climate and ecological issues that are going to have catastrophic consequences, right? There'd never been a briefing, and so it took this hunger striker risking his life to put enough pressure to get a briefing like that. And as you say, less than a quarter of them even bothered to show up. It was online, they could have watched it from their own homes. Just unbelievable. It's just so appalling.
Terrifying, isn't it? Terrifying. Okay, well, thank you very much for taking the action today and for speaking to us. Just before we move on, what could you say to someone that might be watching this live stream for the first time, is feeling really disempowered, might be struggling to pay their energy bills? Why do you feel it's important for them to perhaps consider coming and joining us on the 10th of September at 10 a.m. in Hyde Park and making a stand? You know, what is it that led you to making this decision into non-violent direct action?
Yeah, thanks. I mean, it's really hard. Like, it's so many people are really just worried about like their immediate issues. So like taking time out to do things that seem a little bit abstract on the face of it, like, you know, decision making and politics. Like, we know politics is so sort of embarrassing, so just terrible. Like, it feels like the last thing that you would want to get involved in. But that's why it's so important for us in our communities to like help each other out. During COVID, people around where I lived really like dug in and like rolled their sleeves up and started helping each other out. And we need to do more of that.
Thank you. That's such an important point, that the mutual aid we saw during the pandemic, and ultimately this sense of community that is really lacking from our society right now. We're all in our boxes, you know, with our TVs on, with our own significant issues. But when we do come together and you know, we use that collective wisdom, we do make the right decisions. That's what these assembly processes have shown. And ultimately it's representative and it's a fair system, right? So
but these kinds of assemblies can work in people's communities as well. So I guess that's the piece of advice, like just get the people near where you live, the people that you depend on, get them together and try and talk about what you need to do right now. So
yeah, great. And thank you, mate. And you know, do check out, we're actually going to be touring the country, bringing the people's assemblies to the local communities. So we're doing all that we can with very limited resources. You know, we're all just out here trying to raise issues about, you know, raise awareness.
I'm planning to go to the southwest and then Wales and then Ireland, as you say, yeah, to try and listen to what people need and like what their views on how we can best make change, basically, how we can best sort this out. Like, we can't rely on these guys in here, and we know that. So let's get to work.
All right, thanks very much. Cheers. Enjoy the rest of your day.
It is possible to act on climate and costs in a way that is fair and supports everyone. But our political system is too out of date and out of touch to see beyond the next election cycle and do what needs to be done. We need a new way of making decisions where more voices are heard, not just those at the top. We need the true diversity of the country to be represented. We need a citizens' assembly now. Citizens' assemblies empower ordinary people to make decisions that benefit everyone. Decisions that can get us out of this mess and make life better and safer and fairer for all of us. We're told time and time again that it's not possible to change things, that this is our lot and we just have to get on with it. Well, enough's enough. An obedient population teaches power what it can get away with. We refuse to let the future be decided by politicians who only care about themselves. Power can change the course of history. It's going to take a mass movement of people to upgrade politics and win a citizens' assembly. That's why we're asking for your help on the 10th of December, 10 a.m. in Hyde Park. It's time to let the people decide.
Hello again. So we're just here back outside the Houses of Parliament, where you can see everyone with their banners here. And what would you like to say to people at home that perhaps might be watching this for the first time?
Well, I was thinking people perhaps might think that what we did today was a little bit disrespectful, but I want to turn that on its head and say that way back in the 70s I was studying politics, and we learned to revere this place. This place isn't just the Palace of Westminster, it's the Palace of Democracy. It belongs to all of us. It matters so much, not only to Britain, but to all the world. And this place, this Palace of Democracy, has been stolen from us. It's been taken by political parties and interests that are controlled by forces that we don't even know enough about. And politicians themselves, and we've all seen this, MPs are afraid to speak out. They should be free to say what they really think, and we know that they're not saying what they really think. And this is why we need citizens' assemblies so much, because we need to free up the debate in this country.
That's a really important point, actually.
Yeah.
What you're saying is, there are actually really good MPs that have a conscience, really understand these issues, but they're forced to follow like this party line, and they can't really act on behalf of the people.
They have these whips, they're told exactly what to say. If you look on Twitter, they all come out saying exactly the same thing about the same issues, and there are certain things that are completely off the agenda. Climate change is one of them. As I stand here, the sun is burning into my side. I mean, it's just ridiculous. We're in the middle of a drought, and yet, where are they? They're not talking about it.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, it is clearly a political system that is not serving the people. For me, it feels like there's a psychological issue, where potentially a grip of addiction, you could say, to this fossil fuel system we've been birthed into, and a lot of denial.
I can't tell you how much it's changed in the last 50 years. When I was a student and afterwards, if you wanted to see your MP, you just kind of walked in, and there was a policeman on the door, and he said, why are you here? And you said, I'd like to see my MP, please. And they'd say, what's their name? What's his name? Because it was always a man. And then they would call him on the telephone, and you'd just walk through, stand in central lobby, and your MP would come and have a chat with you.
Right.
Yeah, and you could just do it. And now it's like we're not supposed to be that.
I think I've heard it's £100,000 for a dinner with some, you can have dinner with MPs and stuff, and it's a bit of a strange system.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't pay it, would you?
But there is a lot of lobbying going on, and that's an important point, isn't there? That these companies that have so much money, they're actually offsetting a lot of their money, which they see as a business cost to protect their profits, to get the people in there to say the right things.
And we know that because of the cap on energy prices. It's completely wrong. In France, it was set at 4%. For the people here, I think it's just going to be really big for people talking about climate change in the next few months, because people are going to start really suffering.
Yeah, the time to act is now, isn't it? And will you be there on the 10th of September? Are you able to get to?
Yes, and looking forward to it.
All right, great. Well, hopefully we'll see you there.
If anybody's thinking about it, come, because it's going to be an absolute blast, and you're going to love it.
Great,
thank you.
Thank you. I guess one thing from my experience of being in this movement for like 2.5 years now, and I guess I was talking about that lack of what we're seeing in our society, a sense of community. The people I've met in this movement, they are from all different walks of life, and really it's so nice to be able to come out and see what I guess a connection more than just friends. And knowing that we've all got each other's back, I can't, none of us can solve all these problems alone. But when we come together, that collective wisdom and intelligence, we're there for each other in the way in which, humans essentially evolved in tribes and communities. Not saying we've got to go back to that, of course, but there is something in that, I believe, and reconnecting to nature, and just having the trust in the people. Surely that's what any good political system would encourage: trust in the people, and ensuring that our needs and wants are met as tax-paying, sometimes law-abiding citizens, or in this case, people have decided to break laws, but good people break bad laws, and especially when there's something called the social contract, where the government in there, they have the right to, they basically protect the citizens and we agree to abide by the laws of the land. So I'm a little bit tired now. It's quite a lot to get in, but the government essentially have a social contract. They agree to protect us, and in return, the people of this country, the citizens, should abide by the laws of the land. And when the government are literally being counted as unlawful from the High Court, failing to protect us, clearly serving the interests of these corporations, the oil companies making record-breaking profits right now in this cost of living scandal, then that contract is broken. So people here are coming out. Juries have found activists not guilty because the people have, as a citizens' assembly process, they have the common sense. The mandate of the people is being ignored. The vast majority of people in the UK believe the climate and ecological crisis is a serious issue, and 52% believe that even the 2050 net zero target is too late. So that's 35 million people in the UK that's being ignored. But through this fair representative process, we're not proposing, it's not our idea, but we do support, and we wish other people, other members of the public would get behind it. We think that another world is possible, and do try and share this video if you can. Talk to your friends and family about this concept. Do your own research. Look into citizens' assemblies. There was one in France. There's been one in the Northern Ireland abortion debate, and one recently in Scotland as well. The people got to decide which questions they wanted to answer. It's a really great process. It doesn't necessarily have to be legally binding, but we do need people of the UK to understand it, because the mainstream media are not going to talk about it. It doesn't serve their rich mates potentially. So we need to be talking about it and getting in amongst our community. We'll be coming around the UK on a couple of buses, XR activists, doing what we call people's assemblies, which are a smaller process. There's no sortition process. It's just whoever's there essentially gets to be involved, and it's a much shorter process, but you're still hearing from ordinary people and making sure people are empowered to have their voices heard. So yeah, if you have just joined us, quite the day outside the House of Parliament, and hopefully this is the beginning of a wave now. 10th of September being the beginning, and beyond that, after the 10th of September, 10th to the 12th in Marble Arch, we're going to have the buses going around the UK. That's phase 2. And there's other movements, there's other things happening at the same time. It's not all about XR, not all about us. We don't have the answers like anyone else. This is extremely complex. But we do believe in this citizen assembly process, so please do look into it. Come and join us if you can, or join another movement. Just know that you can step into your power and change happens now. And it is possible. It is possible to have a system that works for us and prioritise our health and well-being and our families and community, our natural world. All of these things, I'm sure, we all want on some level, right? We're completely, we need nature. We're not separate from it. Yeah, I'm just big.
The BBC, will you hold the banner and talk to the people?
No.
We're in a climate crisis. Heat waves, floods, poverty, and a cost of living scandal while polluting companies get rich. We are in crisis. And what goes on in this chamber every day makes a joke out of us all. We cannot afford to go on like this. It is possible to act on climate and costs in a way that's fair and supports everyone. But our political system is too out of date and too out of touch to see beyond the next election cycle and do what needs to be done. We need a new way of making decisions where more voices are heard, not just those at the top. We need the true diversity of the country to be represented here. We need a citizens' assembly now. Citizens' assemblies empower ordinary people to make decisions that benefit everyone. Decisions that can get us out of this mess and make life better, safer and fairer for us all. We are told time and time again that it's not possible to change things, that this is our lot and we just have to get on with it. Well, enough's enough. An obedient population teaches power what it can get away with, but we refuse to let the future be decided by politicians who only care about themselves. People
political power can change the course of history. It's going to take a mass movement of people to upgrade politics and win a citizens' assembly. That's why we're asking for your help. 10th of September, 10 a.m. at Hyde Park. It's time to let the people decide.
So can you tell me where you are and what's going on around you today?
We're outside the Palace of Westminster. A group of us have been inside the building today, requiring the government to really take seriously the climate change crisis and biodiversity crisis. This particular action, we're looking to press them into a citizens' assembly so that people, informed by science, can offer the government some guidance on ways of dealing with the crisis. It seems, following the COP, that the politicians are incapable of making these decisions for whatever reasons, and that big organisations, fossil fuels, financial investors don't want to, because to make decisions would hit their profit margins. So what we need is people who aren't engaged in either of those activities to be informed by scientists, by engineers, to hold a citizens' assembly and come forward with ideas that the government can then turn around and say, these are what the people think. This is what we should be doing about climate change. The people have spoken.
How many people are here today, and what sort of impact do you think it's having?
I'm not sure how many people are in here. I'd say there's a good chance that there was 30 or 40 people inside the Palace of Westminster today. There was a choir singing. There was various different groups reading out speeches in the chambers. We've got people outside. There's someone actually on the fabric of the building with a banner. There's a lot of people stopping and asking questions. The media have been here. We hope we're being heard. We can only hope we're being heard. We're trying our best. We're non-violent, short of throwing things, which doesn't fall in with non-violence. We have to act like this.
So I hear something's happening next week. Do you want to describe what's going to go on next week, and should people be coming along?
Next week, there's an occupation at Hyde Park Corner, Marble Arch, up by Speaker's Corner. Extinction Rebellion will be occupying a section of the park for 4 days. There will be information, there will be workshops, there will be an opportunity to come and talk to Extinction Rebellion and see that we're not mad, that we do have a point, that we're ordinary people. We're there from the 9th, or Saturday the 10th, through until Tuesday, and there will be outreach for children, there will be music. Come, find out who XR are, judges, listen to what we've got to say, make up your own opinion, don't let the press tell you.
And any other messages you want to say?
If you've got children, you need to go out and really understand what we're leaving for them. We are in crisis. That sounds dramatic, but when you've got the head of the UN accusing all the leaders of the modern world of being liars after the COP, that's not something he does lightly. Don't listen to me. Read what the UN have to say about this.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So, hello again.
That way, so we can
Thank you for your hand.
I know what you protesting, but you make sure yourself safe in it. This situation.
Sure, yeah, no, I do feel safe. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I'm going to take another interview.
No problem.
Okay, thank you very much.
But make sure later on, leave from in here. That's no right. Minister coming going inside. He can't go inside because of you.
They can go inside. We haven't actually prevented access to the building.
Okay. How are you doing? We're going to wrap up here.
Okay.
But we just wanted to check back in, see how you're getting on, and what's your reflections.
Social media.
And we're going to wrap up here. And
yes.
I don't know if you heard that, everyone. But yeah. And just wondering how you're doing and what your reflections are.
I'm feeling okay. I've had quite a lot of interviews actually, which have been quite stressful in a way, but no, it's okay. I'm feeling okay. I'm feeling like I'm doing the right thing, and that's what's important.
Perhaps you might say stepping into your power and I guess you're an ordinary person, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I guess you didn't study at Eton. You're not a billionaire. But you have stepped into your power today. You've taken a stand, and people are interested to hear what you have to say, and many other people, whoever feels able to, could also do that. We want to empower people, and I guess that's what you could say has happened.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope that anybody seeing this will understand that nobody else is going to save us but ourselves. We all have to step into our power, like you say. Absolutely.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much. And if you just joined us, or if you're still sitting there and you're really not sure about what the right decision to make is, just come along on the 10th of September at 10 a.m. if you feel able to, or if you're not able to get down to London, then there's other ways you could support us online. We have Digital Rebellion, or you could just donate. Every effort is needed, but we'd really love to see you down there, and just come speak to us. We are just ordinary people. We're not scary, frightening, things that we've been made out to be in the media. We've made mistakes, and we're human. But I guess all I could say is, I really believe in this citizens' assembly process. I really believe in ordinary people to make the right decisions and to serve the rest of the country when they're given the right information from experts, not a mainstream media which has perfected the art of misinformation and sort of making it out like the people don't actually support climate action, because that's definitely not what the polls say, regardless of that mainstream media rhetoric. So that's enough from me. Thank you very much for tuning in and listening. Do please like and share this video. Put a comment in the box below, and just tell us what your vision is for the future. What do you believe in, and hopefully we'll see you on the 10th. If not then, maybe we'll catch you on the bus as we're touring the country. But do take care in this very difficult time for all of us, and hope to see you on the streets soon.
We are in crisis. Heat waves, floods, poverty and a cost of living scandal while polluting companies get rich. We are in a crisis, and what goes on in this chamber every day makes a joke out of all of us. We cannot afford to go on like this. It is possible to act on climate and costs in a way that is fair and supports everyone. But our political system is too out of date and out of touch to see beyond the next election cycle and do what needs to be done. We need a new way of making decisions where more voices are heard, not just those at the top. We need the true diversity of this country to be represented. We need a citizens' assembly now. Citizens' assemblies empower ordinary people to make decisions that benefit everyone. Decisions that can get us out of this mess and make life better and safer and fairer for everyone. We're told time and time again that it's not possible to change things, that this is our lot, and we just have to get on with it. Well, enough's enough. An obedient population teaches power what it can get away with. We refuse to let the future be decided by politicians who only care about themselves. People power can change the course of history. It's going to take a mass movement of people to upgrade politics and win the Citizens' Assembly. That's why we are asking for your help on the 10th of December, 10 a.m. in Hyde Park. It's time to let the people decide.
this man, sir?
Sorry, what?
Are you with this man?
I don't know.
Yes. Yes.
Just confirm that's protesters on the pavement inside the estate of Petriella.
Play through later, everyone.
Take back the common. Take back the common.
Scandal of looting companies get rich. We are in crisis, and what goes on in this room every single day makes a joke out of all of us. We cannot afford to go on like this. We need a new way of making decisions, where more voices are heard, not just those at the top. We need the true diversity of this country to be represented. We need a citizens' assembly.
Put cameras away, please.
Why have a citizens' assembly? Isn't that what Parliament is? Or is Parliament more about power rather than democracy? Reports get hidden, deals get made, favours get done. How about this instead? You get maybe 100 to 150 people together, picked almost at random, like jury service, but as close as possible to the social distribution of the UK as a whole. So there's lots of different people: plumbers, teachers, farmers, nurses, office workers, 50% women, some young people, some old, a cross-section of ethnic backgrounds and gender diversities. The wealthiest 1% only get 1% representation. They're made aware of critical thinking to complement their natural common sense. They have opportunity to shape the process and the agenda. They talk to experts, they talk and listen to each other. When they finish, they decide what the best way forward is and instruct the government to act. It's about fairness, decisions made to benefit everyone, not just the powerful. The good news is that citizens' assemblies are ready to roll out now. They have been used in the past many times, but largely only consultatively. They need to be taken seriously and given more power so that our government and politicians have to listen. It's time to give people a real voice in our political system through citizens' assemblies. Government involving the people directly.